welcome to Artisticon, the featured artist from the Artisticon featured artist list, or Artista list. Sorry, got that wrong. One bad intro isn't so bad, I guess, when you do two in a day. Anyways, I am with Gregery Miller, our featured illustrator, and he is on our front page. You can see his work. I'm also here with the founder of Artisticon, Chris Kasakis. I'm going to turn it over to you guys, but please, before I do, just go over to artisticon.org, check out the list, buy some work, support some artists, and check out some of the things that we have. All right, let's get to it.
Welcome, Gregory. Thanks again for joining us as we transition from Facebook Live into Twitch. And we really appreciate you joining us. So we're kind of going to redo this a little bit, but tell us a little bit about yourself and what makes you tick as an artist.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me. I think what really inspires my work is a lot of fantasy and sci-fi artists, a lot of kind of old stories and books. I work in animation as a background designer, and I also have my own comic series, The Tales of Reverie. So those are kind of my focus right now, outside of the freelance projects that I'm working on for a few different clients. So, yeah. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for joining us. Our pleasure. And as we were talking earlier, tell us about what artists and art influences you in general, and how you got to working in comics and animation. What was your, from younger to older, how they've evolved over time?
Yeah. Well, I think like as a little kid, when I started drawing, I was really inspired by a lot of cartoons and animated shows. Also a lot of video games. So I remember being really young and deciding that I was going to design a video game of every show I loved. Like I would draw the characters, I would draw them doing different moves, and I'd draw the level designs. So I had this interest in video games when I was younger, and then I kind of moved more into illustration work and animation as I got older and got out of school. So now I'm forgetting the question.
No, just who your influences and how you got to where you're at now.
Okay. So a lot of artists influence me. Like I'm really influenced by like Jack Kirby, classic comic artists, Frank Frazetta for classic fantasy sci-fi illustration. Some more contemporary working artists today who I'm really into are like Jeremy Bastian, Mike Mignola. I took the illustration masterclass last year and was able to get great feedback from some artists who I really admire, such as Boris Vallejo, Julie Bell, and Mike Mignola was there, Rebecca Gay, and so many amazing artists are faculty.
For those, I don't digress a little bit. For those watching, because our last two artists also were at IMC. Can you tell us, like, when you arrived there and what the experience is like? It's like a boot camp, but how does the process work? Like, what do you get up, you meet as a group? Do you do private one-on-one session? I'm just curious, for those that might be interested in, the IMC, what they're doing.
Yeah, sure. It's definitely a boot camp. It's almost like, it's on Amherst College campus, or it was. We'll see what the future holds. But
right.
So you feel like you're back in school, kind of. You have a dorm-style room and meal plan, and you basically go to the studio every single day and attend lectures by the faculty and also artists who they bring in. So you spend the majority of the time in the studio each day, and lectures go, into the night, and lectures and demos, so you can learn new skills. And the faculty just kind of circle around and give you feedback as you're working on your piece. They ask that you try to complete one piece at least through the week-long course. Yeah, and you can go online and definitely learn more. It was an amazing experience. It was a little challenging for me because I had just gotten a job at Titmouse Animation, and so I had to skip my third week there and go to IMC, which was
Gotcha.
I was happy I was able to do both, and everyone was cool about that. You know.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, thanks for sharing that because I know a lot of people are really interested in IMC. We hear a lot about it. And only illustrate. Yes, Jeff Miracola. Yeah, yeah. And there's the Illustration Academy with George Pratt and Bill Sienkiewicz.
And they,
Um,
IMC has sorry, IMC also has online courses called
right.
Smart School.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people
Yeah.
can.
No, no.
Yeah. Uh, it was, I think, around 4 or 5. Yeah,
That's very valuable. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, not at all. I think it's important. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's called Illustration Intensive. Yeah. And it's one fantastic workshop which is sponsored by One Fantastic Week, and I think they're I forget in Kansas. Don't quote me on that. It's somewhere in the Midwest. Yeah. Yes.
Don't worry.
Well, I think he's appreciative, and he knows as an artist himself, he's growing, and eventually, whatever he imparts is a mentorship quality, and that's what we're all about here.
Sadly,
Um,
that whole thing did not go through. It was like 30 seconds or 2 minutes of blank air because my audio feed dropped out. We're not going to do it again, but just know that we were talking about Illustration Masterclass, Jeffrey Miracola's Illustration Intensive,
illustration
One
intensive.
Fantastic Week. Check them out if you're an aspiring or artist looking for inspiration because they are an amazing thing. Your audio, though, was good. So
Oh,
it should be interesting. These things happen. It's live.
Yeah.
all right.
Well, let's bring up some of his artwork. Let's bring up artwork number one. And as we were speaking about this before in Facebook Live, why don't you tell us a little bit about this again?
Sure. This is a piece I created for Gristle Art Gallery in Brooklyn. The theme of this show is lithomancy. So, for people who don't know what that means, it's basically using stones, rocks, and minerals for magic. Is a very basic description. Um,
And
yeah, so I kind of used it as an excuse to do what I love doing most, which is character and creature design. So yeah, these are two characters I designed, Orm and Mushkol, who are some of the elementals in my comic series, The Tales of Reverie. Um, and I used reference for this piece. I worked kind of in a hybrid fashion between digital and traditional watercolor and gouache and pen and ink. Um, and I asked my friend to pose as the character on the back because I couldn't get the pose right. So I'm happy I did. Yeah.
It's always good to use your friends or yourself when you lack a model.
Yeah.
So, with the majority of your models, would you say are your friends, or I mean, are you lucky enough to find models? How do you find models? Because really, for a lot of people, that's kind of a difficult thing. I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why people want to learn how to draw out of their head so much, because models are so hard to track down.
Yeah, I've only done that maybe twice. I'm not an artist who has used a lot of models so far, but a lot of times I'll use myself if it's a male character, or I will, I'll pose, take photos of myself. But yeah, I mean, I basically just asked my friend if she would be interested in becoming an epic gold wielding elemental, and she said, "Hell yeah!" So
You have cool friends, because my friends would be like, no, except for Chris. Chris would do it.
Yeah, I'll get on your back. No, okay. So, yeah, I mean, you pull reference wherever you can. I mean, we called it a scrap file back in art school days for me. Is like, whoever, like, here, pull that person, get this, take a quick photo. Wherever the inspiration leads us, if there's something you see, you take a shot of it, or, you sketch something down. I think that's pretty much
just don't
the
copy exactly what you see, because if you grab it off of Google and you copy it, right, you're copying somebody else's work, infringement of copyright. It's not really yours. So, use it to inspire,
I always say, take
to
original
inform.
reference. Take original reference always, yeah. Let's bring up number 2, artwork number 2. And we have Cactus Dragon, another entry into the art gallery show for a different show, correct?
Yeah, this was my first show with Gristle Art Gallery. And yeah, the theme was cacti and succulents, and just basically, it's usually a very broad theme, and you can kind of do with it what you want. And I wanted to be able to. I was really inspired by old maps during this time, and I was looking at a lot of all the creatures that you see like in the water around the map. I thought they were really cool, so I was just like, Cactus Dragon. No one's ever done that.
I don't think anyone ever has.
No, that's a great concept. And like I said earlier, I like the map aspect. It reminds me of the old style illustrations you'd see in a Tolkien book, or even like I didn't say it before, but like astrology, dragon type of thing. I think it's really cool. It's different. I like the you have a rendered quality with a graphic quality. So
there's some cool design elements too.
Yeah.
For those of you looking at this on a high definition monitor with a good feed, you can see there's these longitude and latitude lines that are emanating from this point up here, which is pretty cool because it also sort of the rays of the longitudinal lines are very much similar to the rays of a sun, and there's just some really, really cool things. And then all of a sudden you have this flat landscape and then stars. It's just there's so many cool design elements. It's kind of hard to really break them all apart because it's just so much fun to look at.
And you're going to be in a show this Saturday again with the same gallery. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. The virtual show, Knights and Monsters, goes live tomorrow with Gristle Art Gallery. I have 3 pieces, and I actually produced a sculpture, which I haven't in a long time. So I was excited to work in 3D. I haven't really, it's been a while, so
Yeah.
I've been working in 2D. And yeah, I mean, my 3 pieces go live tomorrow. There are amazing artists in the show. And also these 2 pieces that we just looked at, Cactus Dragon and Lithomancy, I just want people to know those are still available for sale. So
okay, great.
if anyone is interested, just shoot me a message. They should be up in my online shop at GregeryMiller.com.
Do we know
So
the website for Crystal Gallery?
Gristle Gallery.
Oh, Gristle. So yeah, go ahead. Could you spell that for me so we can give it to our viewers?
Sure. Gristle, gristleartgallery.com.
They are on Instagram. That's where I found them. So you can find them on social media and really cool postings, a lot of different varied artwork.
Oh, very cool. I'm going to see if we can bring it up real quick so we can just talk a little bit about them and give them a plug for all three viewers.
Sure.
Let's take a look.
There are a lot of great artists involved. It's a big group show.
All right. You said it's going live when?
Tomorrow.
Knights and Monsters. Okay. You guys keep talking. I'm going to pull it up in a second.
Okay.
Cool.
So now let's talk about your third artwork, which is your comic, but let's digress a little bit while he's looking this up. You moved into, well, he brought it up, so let's talk about the comic. Tell us a little bit about Tales of Reverie, and this sounds like a passion of yours and how this has developed over time.
Yeah, sure. The Tales of Reverie is an ongoing comic series I've been working on for about 5 years. There's a lot of world building elements to it, a lot of character design, map making. There's, I believe, about 70 pages of comic storytelling completed right now, and it's ongoing. So I'm producing new pages, new work. It is on a Patreon, patreon.com/Gregery Miller, and you can get involved with the project. I'll send you merch, comics, prints, artwork for your pledges. So if you're interested in my work, I'd love if people would go check that out. Yeah, and so it's loosely inspired by some dreams I had as a kid that I've kind of just held on to through my life, and I've always wanted to illustrate. They were really profound to me, these images that I had, so I really wanted to express that and show these landscapes and these characters. Just very bizarre dreams. Like, kids have such strange dreams.
Sometimes your greatest ideas come from dreams. I say that. I've done it with pieces of art or stories I've written because I write as well. It's a great resource if you can remember them. Sometimes I'm like, oh, what was that dream? But if you obviously remembered this one, what is the reverie? Where's that come in? Like the term, like how did you come up with the name?
Well, reverie is a word for a dream.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of an old word. So the world that I developed, which is basically a parallel reality to the human world, is reverie. And then, I mean, the Earth is called something else, but it's essentially a parallel.
Okay.
Dimension. Yeah,
that's great. So this is an ongoing project, and you are now the last, I guess, year and a half. I think you got the job at Titmouse right after Artisticon that you were an attendee at, and you worked on this hit animation show that's on Netflix now. If those are watching, it's called Midnight Gospel, and it's really psychedelic. Really, it's an adult cartoon, so don't sit your 2-year-old in front of it. Well, maybe you will, but I would not suggest it. I think it's a mix. I said to him, to Gregory, it's like a mixture of Adventureland meets Monty Python. Somehow that's how I perceived it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's by the creator of Adventure Time. So
okay.
The creator Pendleton Ward, and the comedian Duncan Trussell.
Yes.
They teamed up and created this show, and Titmouse Animation produced it. So I was a background illustrator, so I designed the worlds of episodes 3, 4, and 7 mostly. So if you've seen the show, I played a big part in designing the cat boat, and
I was going to say the cat boat was really interesting.
the ocean world, and I did like the ice wall, and like when they go inside that god thing's brain, it's like all these psychedelic brain backgrounds. So the show is crazy. I mean, it goes all over the place, but it was really, really fun to work on because it touched on so many different things, and you could really be super imaginative with your work, So It was amazing.
I know you didn't work on the first one, but I turned it on the other night to, just to watch and learn a little bit about what you were doing. And then the first episode just like was completely, just blew me away. You have him travel to a world where this man with glasses, who's voiced by Dr. Drew Pinsky, is the president, and he's sitting there talking to the traveler all about types of drugs and philosophies while he's shooting zombies. It was just like interesting. It's like, now I'm intrigued.
My daughter loved Adventure Time. She's old enough to watch this. I'm not putting a 4-year-old in front of this. And she's like, yeah, let's totally watch this. She's a teenager now. And I put it on, and she just like looked at me, and she was like, what the HE double hockey sticks? And I was like, I have no idea, but let's see this through. It was wild. It was totally wild.
It's totally insane. I mean, it's
kind of like train of thought. Like, let's just go on to the next thing. That's what I liked about it. It's like, kind of like, it's just like happening as it happens, real time. Even though it's probably scripted, it's like, how did he come up with this? Where did this?
So
yeah, I could talk a little bit about that.
Sure, go ahead.
Actually, I was going to ask you, because earlier before we hopped on and we were running through like double checking the information, we spoke a little bit about our time in the studio and the positives and the negatives. But we're only going to talk about the positives. But I would like to know, while you're going through this, tell us like a usual day designing a backdrop. Is there some meetings? How do you go? I know you can't put all of it together here, right? This is very truncated. But I think, give someone an idea, because that might be a viable career path for an aspiring artist.
Yeah, I think working in animation studios is definitely a viable career path. I'm going to be pretty blunt and say that.
Please do.
I think to get into that kind of work, you have to live in a few select areas in the world.
That's correct.
Yep. And I think we know where those places are. And so that's a choice you need to make if you want to work in animation. Maybe you need to move to LA. But it's really fun work. It's basically, you work in a studio with a bunch of other artists. You have a computer, you have a setup, a Cintiq. We're working in Photoshop, mainly on backgrounds. So I'm drawing on a Cintiq in Photoshop, and I'm getting notes and inspiration from art directors over Slack. And you guys know Slack, like
yes,
yeah. And basically, we have a certain amount of backgrounds that we have to complete within every week. So we can kind of work on at our own pace, as long as you meet the requirements of every week. And there's meetings throughout the week. So we go over the backgrounds we've been working on. They call them dailies. So even though they're not daily, I don't know where it came from. But
daily meetings, maybe.
Yeah, so like two or three times a week, we would go over all the background art, and we get feedback from the art directors. Maybe some things have to change. Maybe they really love it. But yeah, I mean, it was a challenging project, but it was really, really amazing and really fun to work on.
Did they give you a lot of freedom on it, or there was like they had things specifically in mind for you to create?
It was a good balance of freedom and structure. Like basically, the art director Jesse Moynihan and the background lead Ellie Michalka, they were really great about giving us kind of like a framework to work in, but then we were able to, as long as you like work in this style and you're like hitting these points, you're getting certain items in the backgrounds, or it depends on the episode also.
Yeah.
It depends on the background. But I think it was a good balance.
You have a favorite background?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so when you're watching this, folks, and what's the name of the show again?
Midnight Gospel.
On Netflix.
Yep. So when you're watching this, what's your favorite background?
My favorite background is inside the god's brain in episode 3.
That's awesome.
And the god can be seen sleeping inside its own brain. It's really trippy. But it's just this insane, huge brain detailed background that the characters come into. It's like a gigantic room cavern. I have it posted on my Instagram. I have it on my website, GregeryMiller.com. So if anyone's curious.
Can you explain real quick what the premise, what the character is and what happens in each episode? Like not what happens, but
Right.
where's he he travels, but just the idea, the concept of the show.
Sure. Yeah, so it's about a character named Clancy who lives in a trailer and in a place called the Chromatic Ribbon, which is like a very surreal landscape. It seems like maybe this is post-apocalyptic. And he's a space caster. So Duncan Trussell is a podcaster. So he voiced the main character,
Right.
who is a space caster. So he uses this machine he has in his trailer, which is a simulator, which sends him to these different worlds, and he interviews people for his space cast. In these
Right. It's alternate Earths, right? It's kind of like he has a checklist of different worlds and Earths. And...
Yeah, and it's crazy because like episode 4 is like a dark medieval fantasy.
Yeah.
And then like, episode 7, it's like all about death, and it's like this. He like falls inside his bag. It's crazy. I mean, it's so yeah, it's built the whole premise of the show and the episodes, the scripts were built around actual existing podcast interviews with people that Duncan Trussell had interviewed, and then the story was built around that in the world and the artwork.
Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, cool. Well, that actually puts it a little more in perspective. That's great. Do you hope to do more work in animation, or like you're up to anything at this point? Where's your focus leading?
I really do hope to do more work in animation. I would like that to be my full-time career. Right now, I'm kind of halfway between that and freelance illustration. I'm considering a move to LA. I have been considering a move for about 6 months. I haven't decided yet.
Do it. Just do
I
it.
think I should do
Maybe
it. Yeah,
wait just till some things get under control.
right.
But just you're young, single, go for it. You got your art career ahead of you. Just go for it.
Yeah, it's worth a shot. If it doesn't work out, you go to the next thing. But you'll say at least I tried. At least you won't kick yourself. Sometimes I'm pushing. I'll be 50 this summer, and like there's things I say, I should have done that. But then, you know what? If the opportunity arises and there's something that won't hold you back, nothing to tie you down other than just yourself saying I'm not sure, then I would say try it, venture out there.
Advice from old dudes: kids change everything.
Yeah,
and you might have a kid and not even realize it, right? So like,
right.
So I'm just saying, I think you should. I think, and a little adventure is worthwhile. A great little study came out. Well, it was reported on. I can't say I read the study, so full disclosure, that showed that and I do have the full study here. I just haven't had a chance to get to it, and I will shortly. So I'm paraphrasing from the article, but it seemed to imply, or the article very specifically described, that happiness comes from experiencing many different things and having new experiences. And they correlated a greater level of happiness by a large amount to people who seem to go around more, travel more, experience things more, try new things. So consider it part of that artistic journey in the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great reason. And it's also a perfect time because with this show airing and it's pretty popular, it's doing really well. So this is a great thing to have in my portfolio and on my resume.
Totally,
absolutely. Yeah. Working on a major Netflix animated show. I would like that on my resume. So since we're, why we've created Artista List is to help artists gain more exposure and possible new commissions, revenue streams, working with new art directors. Is there something you can tell us you offer potential clients that you would like to, impart, if they're watching, saying why should you hire me?
The interview question, right?
The interview question.
Yeah.
Like, what can I give you that no other, or well, I don't say no
That's
other.
such a tough question though, but yeah.
I know.
Answer it.
Why do we want to hire Gregery?
Yeah, I think that is a really hard question.
It's okay if you don't want to. Like, the one thing is we want to stay positive here all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
look, there's
uh,
nothing wrong, because you know what? In an interview, it's hard enough to come up with that. When you're sitting in a
right.
studio or you're sitting in front of your potential future boss and they ask you that question, how do you not stammer? I mean, unless you've researched that and rehearsed it over and over again. That's such a tough one.
Well, how
well,
about this? How
I,
about instead
I
of
do have,
answering that,
I do have,
answer? Okay, go
I think
ahead.
I can answer. Yeah, I I think I have a variety of strong artistic experiences in my career. I I've worked in animation on a major Netflix show. I've worked in comics. Um, I have done, you know, I've done a lot of things in the last 10 years. I've been a scenic painter for theater.
Mm.
So I've worked for a game studio. I worked for Hit Point Games on Disney's Fairies for Microsoft. So
You've had a
I
pretty varied career. That's very cool.
yeah, um, and I've done like apparel design for Urban Outfitters. So
Oh,
uh, yeah, I've had a variety of things that I've done artistically, professionally. So I think um, I think that's probably a strong selling point.
I think so. I mean,
He
it
can drop into any
exemplifies.
project ready to go. Right? He's got
Right.
all
Yeah,
the tools and all the skills. Somebody hire this guy. Get him on another animated show.
yeah,
I'm here. I'm waiting.
yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, that's great because I think versatility is what a lot of people are looking for nowadays, and it also allows you to, well, it shows you over your experience. I mean, you're not freshly out of art school. You've been seasoned. Shows that you can work in different genres, from it graphic design to illustration to illustrating for animation. I mean, you're exploring different genres, and that's what uh, we love about our Artisticon is that we learn that so many artists have like bridged the genre gap. I mean, it's just if it's good art, it kind of can fit into many avenues of art. It's not just I only do fine art painting. I only do fantasy art. I only do animation. No, if your art is something that speaks to someone, it can fit really into any genre and across art fields. So I
And
think
it
that's
can
very important.
inform people of other genres. So let's say you had somebody that just wanted to specialize in illustration, maybe just comic book illustration, because it's the first thing that came to my head. There is no reason why a fine artist like John Wellington, who happened to work in comics but applies everything that he learned there and previously in all of his other experience to his paintings, right? It's a cumulative use of experience and knowledge in the paintings that he creates now. There's no reason why what he does wouldn't correlate to a comic book artist's work. I'm not saying all of it, but certainly he would have information and knowledge that would probably be invaluable somewhere, somehow. I mean, I wouldn't
Well,
be the person to say what that is, but I'm sure they could figure it out together.
I think we're the sum of all our experiences, and as we move on and experience more, you bring the last experience into your total package of experiences and bring it along with you. And I think I've always appreciated people that are more versatile. I don't want to say more than someone who's razor focused. They only do sci-fi covers or romance covers. I think, but there's a potential to stagnate in those kind of things where it becomes repetitive, even in fantasy. Like dragons. I appreciate it. And it was never my kind of. I was more into hardcore superhero comics, sci-fi, traditional. But I never really got into the dragon art and fantasy. But there's so many people that love it, and I appreciate for what it is. But sometimes I can only see so many dragons. So many. I like to see something different.
Right.
Uh, and then that's what I usually do when I go to conventions. I like to look for something that I haven't seen before, somebody that stands out to me. And your work is very unique. It stands out to me. It's. I think that's what I think is a factor today is that we don't want to become repetitive of other artists. We want to find our unique voice. There's so many. I mean, with social media and the advent of social media, we see so much art out there. It's like it's overkill. And then sometimes you look at something and say, "Oh, that's that." No, that's not that artist. I thought it was, but it looks exactly like that. Whereas you want to kind of get that differentiation, that unique quality, whether it be art, visual art, or writing, or whatever, animation. So I think I think that's a very important aspect, is to find your voice. I think that's where style comes in, but can take a lifetime. My one art professor used to say, technique is a tool that you employ. Your style, I'm sorry, a technique is a tool. Your style is how you employ that technique. So style can take 20 years, 30 years. You can change your style. I mean, you have artists that 20 years ago, their work looked totally different than where they are now. So you're
Right.
constantly evolving, and you just never know. I think keep an open mind. Um, if someone comes to you from a different genre that you're used to working in, I say try it. I've worked in all fields of illustration. There were some projects that I thought I never work on, and then I did, and I enjoyed the project. So yeah, always keep an open mind, and I think experience is where you gain wisdom, and that's where you gain more insight into the world around you.
I have something for you guys. I want to actually talk about the gallery show a little bit more. I mean,
Yeah,
we
sure,
spent
sure.
some time talking about some other stuff. We've kind of gone on some tangents. I think it's important to bring it back to Gregory. I think this is a pretty cool opportunity. Can people buy the work?
Yes.
All right, let me
Yeah.
bring it up. Let me bring up the website so we can see who we're looking at. Here, this is Gristle Art Gallery, GristleArtGallery.com. And you, Gregory, have a show coming up. When does it start again? Starts. That's awesome. Virtual. And they can see it right here on the website? Very, very cool. I'll just bring up the exhibitions here and take a look. Yeah. Artists bring forth historical, mythological, and contemporary takes of valiant heroes, fantastic beasts, and ask what makes one a legend. So, and this image here is by Jessica Labor. I don't know who you are, but I love it. So, oh no, maybe a future guest. Oh, very cool. But I wish we could show this. Maybe we'll do a next week. We'll do a quick, and you don't have to participate in this, Gregory, but you're more than welcome to. We would love to have you again, and a quick walkthrough of the virtual gallery. It'd be fun to just see what work you have hanging up, and but it takes time out of your schedule, so I don't want to impose. Well, it's not letting me log on here. I don't have any way to click or anything to click here to bring it up. I'll try, but I can't guarantee anything. Yeah. Yeah. Don't even have to leave your house. Just click on the link and go, which is pretty cool. Well, this is exciting. Looks like a cool gallery, too. I was looking at some of the photos. What pieces do you have up? Are they the pieces that you showed here, or are they originals, new ones? So, do you sculpt often?
I, once this pandemic hit and I was just stuck inside, um, and the show contacted me, I said, you know what, this is a good chance to explore something I haven't really done in a while, and I've been interested in doing again. So
Great.
Enjoyable?
Yeah.
what's
I'm
that?
grilling you here. Was it enjoyable?
Yeah, it was really fun. I really like working in 3D.
That's cool. What kind of material was it? I'm just trying to get a little bit more information about what your experience was like doing it since you revisited. I'm just trying to like pick your brain a little bit just to give people an idea of how you think and maybe interest them a little bit.
Yeah, it was an interesting process. It's actually a lot of found object art and like things from nature and also clay. So one artist that actually I met at Haven Gallery who was really inspiring me with his work is I hope I don't butcher his name, Akishi Ueda. He's a Japanese artist you can find on Instagram, and he does these amazing uh, creatures that are like found objects mixed with clay. That they're these surreal, otherworldly creatures. So I was looking at his work a little bit and really inspired by him. And yeah, I mean, there's like petrified mushrooms and
Oh,
seashell
cool.
and moss and like just bizarre stuff I found out here in Massachusetts. So
The one thing I noticed about Massachusetts, I went out there to the Juice Gallery. I've been out there a bunch, but I was going up to Juice Gallery. Familiar with them at all?
I've heard of them. I don't know
Yeah,
them too well.
incredible plaster casts, first generation casts from some of the originals that were cast from the sculpture. They're cast dating back mid 19th century to a big powerhouse at the time. So their casts are beautiful. If you ever get a chance to stop by, we're dropping a lot of names here today. You ever get a chance to stop by, check it out because it's really cool. I mean, they have all sorts of just beautiful castings, full size of everything from the Venus de Milos to, or is it Milo? I have Venus de Milo. I never know. I've heard it twice. There they say Milos, and I mean to the Belvedere torso. There's just so many. It's almost impossible to explain the sheer magnitude of the amount of sculptures they have. But anyways, I noticed one thing about Massachusetts is like even the weeds look scenic up there. It's so beautiful. I'm driving along on the back roads and I'm like, wow, here that would be maybe have some trash around it, but up there I was like, wow, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to the Berkshires where I grew up, so it's really pretty out here. Nature, I mean, is one of my biggest inspirations. So it's nice to be out here during this time for sure. I feel lucky.
You spend a lot of time outdoors painting, or are you just a studio guy?
I haven't really spent too much time outdoors painting. I'll go on hikes and then I'll come back to the studio and work. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, whichever way. All right, I'm done grilling you. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Well, I think we got most everything up. Do you have any art tip for us? Maybe something to impart to anybody out there, or if you want to plug somebody or sponsor a product or anything.
Yeah, I think maybe to aspiring artists, a tip would be try to do what makes you happy and create a style. Do what comes naturally to you, but try to get really good at that. So explore your interests. Because I think it's important that artists are really, to be like a unique artist is something that I find really important. Something that I strive for. So, okay, so that was a tip. And then what was the other? I'm sorry.
No, just if there's any product or that you use that you like to talk about, or sponsor or anything. Just off the top of your head.
Uh,
I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I love working on my Cintiq. So if you ever have the money to drop on a Cintiq, I actually got mine for free.
Did you? Wow.
It's the oldest one that exists, but my friend,
if it works, it works.
my friend was moving out of his studio and he couldn't take it, and I like partitioned my MacBook so that I can run it.
Hmm.
So my Mac is now like two separate computers. Um, so that's been really fun. I love Wacom products. I haven't been able to really get into the iPad as much as a lot of people. I think I miss that like hand quality that you get with traditional work, and for
Hmm.
some reason when I'm on a Cintiq, it feels more real than on a little iPad, in my opinion.
Is you have one of the larger Cintiqs to give you more real estate? Yeah,
It, it's really big.
that's cool. Yeah, I'm that way. The little, even the Wacom tablets, if they're too small, I feel confined. I like the larger ones where I can kind of just spread out. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
And it's what I use the tip mouse for background. So maybe I just became comfortable with the Cintiq there, and I really like working on it now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
The
Great.
and
new ones are amazing too, by the way. I mean, they have rotation, tilt, and pressure. I mean, it's crazy,
right,
and there's almost no parallax. They're so good, so good.
someday I'll upgrade when I have more money. um, yeah, but the and like please, guys, if you're into my work, check out patreon.com/Gregery Miller. I would love to get you involved in the creation of the Tales of Reverie. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for coming to Artisticon. And we'd love to have you back. We're planning some other things, maybe some group sketch sessions or little contests. So maybe you'd be part of that if you'd like. So we'll see. We're in unprecedented times. Our next Artisticon is on hold because, well, that's obvious of what's happening with COVID. So we're trying to do as much as we can online, virtually, and to help artists out there that want to get their name out there and maybe pick up some work. And please spread the word. Anybody is welcome to submit. This is completely free. You'll get a little portfolio section linked back to your social media, and we'll interview you. And like I said, if down the road you want to come back, so there's some new work, and we hope to, see you soon.
Yeah,
Ladies and
thanks.
gentlemen, that was Gregory Miller, GregoryMiller.com. Please check out his show or his group show at Gristle Gallery. Opens tomorrow. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.